And I think this freedom you can see through all her works, but she always was very strong for the rights of other people. She didn't like an injustice.
Köszönöm szépen, Friedrich, hogy eljöttél hozzám ide az otthonomba, és talán azzal szeretném kezdeni, hogy a Freywillének egy nagy rajongója vagyok, mert nagyon szeretem a művészetet, és nagyon szeretem a bőrömön érezni, és hogy ez egy sikertörténet, mert hogy több mint 70 éves a cég, de nagyon hiszek abban, hogy ezek a nagyítóval kiemelt motívumok, ezek a különleges minták, ezek attól is sikeresek, mert hogy valaki hittel és szenvedéllyel képviseli ezt a márkát, úgyhogy egy picit szeretnék visszautazni az időben, és azon gondolkozom, hogy amikor fiatal voltál, volt-e már elképzelésed a művészethez kapcsolódóan, tehát ott volt-e a gyerekkorodban már egy kiállítás, vagy a művészetben létezés?
My father was a lawyer, and he loved music, and he loved art. And we were 6 children. I was number 2, and I always accompanied my father every exhibition in Vienna, every holidays, always art holidays, wherever we went to. So I was really, it was infiltrated in my brain completely. And so all my life I was really fascinated. And I was with my imagination, I was always with art. For instance, one art in pharaonic art of Egypt was for me so impressive that for the time being, when I was 14, I took it as my nickname, Ramses, because I was so full of enthusiasm for this part of art.
Most egy gyerekkorról beszéltél, Friedrich, és arról, hogy a családban hogy volt otthon a művészet. De hogy azt gondolom, hogy valamiképpen kell egy arszpoetika, valami, amiben hisz az ember, amiben hangsúlyos szerepe van a művészetnek, a képnek. Neked van egy ilyen arszpoetikád, ami vezeti az életedet?
This is something which was not immediately there, as I tried to explain. It came later on when I had the chance to work also in art. I think this is very important. If you have the chance to work with artists together, which is the best thing which can happen in your life, to be together with artists and imagination and to share thoughts with them. So this made me enthusiastic as well. It was clear for me that art makes me happy, and art is now in the latest development of a very interesting, let's say, work from the University of Vienna, which was together with international other parts or scientists of psychology. They said art is really, it makes you happy. And there are 5 different reasons why. First of all, it is the emotions. The emotions can be very, very strong when you look at art. The second thing is to think about something deeper. So it's the brains. Then it's the social aspect. If you share with a second person, then it's completely different. If you're alone to go into an exhibition, not the same. If you're together with a second or third person, then you are automatically in another level together. It's a social effect. And then it works on you. Number 4, that you develop your own personality because of art. And number 5 is resilience. Mm-hmm. When you have very hard times in life, you come over it with a strong willpower, but also with art. Art can help you very much to overcome problems, big problems in your life, because it's so interesting how art works in our life. For me, the biggest impression in my young time were films like Hiroshima, Mon Amour, it was before you were born, and Jules et Jim.
Jules et Jim.
This was Jean Moreau and Werner and Oscar Werner. It was so impressive and so influenced my life to be open to everything, I think. And Hiroshima, Mon Amour, it was also a wonderful, because the woman who fell in love with a survivor of the atomic bomb was a French girl. She was driven out of France because she had a love affair with a German soldier. So this was so overwhelming. You saw the freedom of life there, and I was all my life I'm impressed by these two films.
Nagyon egyetértek azzal, amit mondasz, és nagyon hasonlóan gondolkodom a művészetről, legyen az akár egy képzőművészeti tárgy, egy festmény, legyen az egy épület, egy zenemű, amit már említetted, hogy fontos volt gyermekkorodban, vagy akár az irodalom, ami az én otthonom, ugye én a szavakkal foglalkozom, vagy költői képekkel, és szeretnék is rátérni, hogy a te életedben hol van az irodalom, hogy mit jelent számodra egy-egy költői kép, vagy egy-egy vers, az is tud-e ihletni téged?
Of course, in our education system, maybe like here in Hungary, we start already in high school to go through the classical literature of different nations. Very important. The German, of course, we have also some Hungarian. We have also Russian, English, French. So all these things you go through in the 4 years of the last 4 years in the high school. So this was a very good start. Humanism was for me always the center of my life. So humanism means to respect other people, to use the rules of social behavior. So I wanted to become also a knight in my behavior, like a knight. The rules of a knight, he helps wherever he can. In art, I was first not immediately concentrating on art. I was concentrating on psychology, because I wanted to analyze my own behavior. First, I want to concentrate on me. And I studied psychology in many books. It was very interesting. And when I thought I had already found the solutions, I stopped psychology. It was not any longer interesting for me. Later on, all the time, but not as a focus. When I came into the chance to also work together in this existing company with the founder, it was a long time ago. I concentrated first not on art, I concentrated on the business, on commercial systems, and also on human relationships. This was very, very important. When she died, it was a long time ago, then I had to make a decision. Do I want to continue with the company? And then I decided I will continue, but it must be under very high level, a very high level from artistic point of view. So I found the Academy of Applied Arts in Vienna, and my existing wife was there. And together with 4 or 5 of her best friends, of artist friends, they came all into the company. And so from there on, we started to make only new works of art. Not first the homages to famous painters. First, we concentrated on geometry. Later, what was especially in those days, 80s for instance, it was very, very in to think about other continents, about other lives. And later on, it was Egypt. It was a big fascination for me. And then we were very, very much active in France since the 70s already. And in France, I was contacted from the president of the foundation of Claude Monet. She was an American. Mm-hmm. And she said, oh, we have Giverny, it is at the bank of the Seine River. And there every year 300,000 people come, and many Americans. Please, couldn't you create a big wonderful collection in jewelry because she had seen it, what we were doing already for Hermes. We were together with Hermes more than 30 years.
2 évvel ezelőtt, pont, hogy ilyen nagyon élő legyen ez az élmény, pont egy zsivernibe visszatértem abban a karkötőben, amit a hely inspirált, és nagyon jó érzés volt ezt a kettősséget megélni.
Monet was for me the most important one. He was a normal man, completely normal. He was so in love with a woman who had already 5 children from another man. And they were so in love, and then they lived together in Giverny until the end of his life. And Orangerie, in the Orangerie in Paris, you find the wonderful, huge canvases from Nymphaea, it's called in France, as a water lilies, water roses. And when I was 12 years old, I was with my parents in Paris. And I was so impressed. So it was for me wonderful because I was always fascinated from Claude Monet.
Tudsz-e választani akár még kedvenceket, hogy van-e, ami még különösen közel állt a szívedhez, Klimt, vagy Hundertwasser, vagy Muha, tehát hogy kell-e választani, vagy mindig mindegyik kollekcióhoz, vagy alkotóhoz van egy ilyen nagyon személyes történet?
I'm now learning with Frida Kahlo that everything which we had done before was always a real homage on a famous artist. But this time it is not only an homage on a famous, it is also an anthem for Mexico. But this is only positive and wonderful in nature. So at the moment, Frida Kahlo.
Okay.
Yes.
Ő egy olyan alkotó, aki a nehézségei ellenére nagyon kapcsolódik ahhoz a filozófiához, amit én is vallok. Én ugye Rómába jártam egyetemre, és nagyon magával ragadott az olaszoknak ez a gioia di vivere életérzése, és ugye Frida Kahlo is azt mondja, hogy viva la vida, éld az életedet. Ez a te filozófiádhoz is nagyon közel van, ami nem csak a munkádban, hanem az egész életedben vezet téged?
Frida Kahlo had all her life through, from the first accident with it was the bus, but before she had polio already 6 years, but always they had not anything to help her really. She had all the time, she was suffering enormously, and she had which you call today in psychology a resilience, which is overcoming it all the time, being hopeful for the future, and this gave her enormous power. So life is beautiful. And viva la vida. This is something which she was living through until the very end. And you probably remember when she had the last exhibition in Mexico, then she was forbidden to go there. But then they took her on the bed and she arrived there and there was a big triumph and everybody was so happy. And she died very, very young, really. But she was, I think, she was giving many people a lot of hope for the future.
Ahogy most Fridáról beszélsz, beugrott egy gondolat számomra, hogy te önmagadat egy kíváncsi embernek tartod, és ez a kíváncsiság vezet egyik művészről a másikra, akikkel utána foglalkozni fogtok?
When I was a child, my parents were not very happy because I asked all the time. I was always very curious. And I think I read the other day in psychology, you say people who are very curious, they live much longer. Because the curiosity, you want to live many things which you haven't lived yet, all the time. So in my age, I'm very curious.
És hogy alakul ki mondjuk egy motívum, ami olyan, mint hogyha a márkátok egy nagyítót tenne egy motívumra, ami nem feltétlenül egy festmény részlete, ha jól értem, hanem a művészre jellemző motívum. Ezt hogy választjátok ki? Mi az, amire valamiképpen egy ilyen fókusz kerül?
We first study very carefully the life of an artist. And then we see what he painted in which period of his life. And then we understand it. I'm always, let's say, accompanying the artists. The artists have to do that primarily then they are starting and thinking and of dreaming, and then they sit down, they're sketching and taking colors out, and then a new work of art is done. And this is never a copy of what the artist had made himself. But it takes the idea, people have to understand, associate it immediately with the artist. So I think with Frida Kahlo, we have, for instance, used the beautiful transparent butterfly, which and the flowers. This is so beautiful. I am myself so enthusiastic about how we could interpret it.
Mondasz nekem olyan élményt, vagy olyan művet, ami nagyon megrendítő volt számodra? Tehát ami akár évtizedek óta, vagy évek óta veled van, és nagyon fontos egy másik művészeti ágban?
Gustav Klimt, because Gustav Klimt is still the pope for decorative art. Each woman which he portrayed became immortal because he used wonderfully also decorative art in his paintings, and also the frames he made himself. So I was so fascinated by him, and I think we would have made a big mistake to not continue. And Vienna is also important. I think we always want to show we come from Vienna, because the art world is very much dominated by France, as you know. And it is #1 country of art. There's no doubt about it. But also in other countries, there are very, very strong artists. And in the 19th century, especially Budapest and Vienna, we have something in common. Not only that we were in the same big empire, but also Art Nouveau in Budapest and in Vienna was the best one in Europe. And also Alfons Mucha. He was, as you know, from Prague. And when he was in Paris, he was so much influenced because he worked there. And we have now brought out very recently now something about Mucha when he was in Paris. He worked for different, let's say, publicity posters for famous actresses, Sarah Bernhardt, for instance. And one of these posters was so beautiful that we wanted to take it as a basis. So Mucha is very important. Hundertwasser is also Viennese. He was living when we had started already, and he wanted also to participate. But he died in 2000, and we only had time to work for his works of art afterwards.
Nagyon sok képzőművészről és képről és festőről volt szó itt az elmúlt pillanatokban, és tudom, hogy ez egy személyesebb kérdés lesz. A munkámmal kapcsolatban van egy kitűzött célom. Nagyon fontosnak tartom, hogy mindenki valahogy olvasó legyen. Számodra, Friedrich, van egy személyes filozófia, vagy egy mindennapos küldetés, hogy az ékszerekkel, vagy a művészettel te személy szerint mit szeretnél adni az embereknek, vagy mit szeretnél elérni?
I studied law, and I learned to express myself with very few words also. And if I have to say one word, we want to send happiness to other people. This is the most important thing. I think we have only a right to exist when we can make people happy, which means we have to really celebrate relationship between people and respect of each other, respect of other cultures. So this is my message.
Frida Kahlo azt mondta, hogy virágokat festek, hogy soha ne haljanak meg. I paint flowers so they will not die. És én azt gondolom, hogy valamiképpen a reménynek is a festője Frida Kahlo. Milyen összefoglalása van még Fridáról, aki, ahogy beszéltük, a nehézségek ellenére is valahogy ezt az élet szeretetet és a reményt tudja adni, az én véleményem szerint az embereknek.
For me, you know that her father was German and the mother was Mexican, but mainly from a tribe of indigenous. It's called Comanches. So she was very much influenced by them, I'm sure, because what she has painted It is what people in these tribes do, and all the social life is different from the European way of life. But overwhelming is nature, and relationship between man and woman is, or woman to woman, man to man, is for them all the same. They do not distinguish. They are not bound to any Christian religion. So they are completely free. And I think this freedom you can see through all her works. But she always was very strong for the rights of other people. She didn't like an injustice.
Most jól szóba jött a szabadság, mert így a vége felé még pár fogalmat szeretnék átgondolni közösen. Az egyik, amit minden vendégemtől megkérdezem, hogy neki mit jelent az a szó, hogy szabadság. Akár az életében, akár a munkájában, akár összefoglalóan. Egy rövid szó, de szerintem nagyon sok felé vezet.
For me, freedom is absolutely not, you cannot replace it by anything else. So freedom is absolutely the most important sense to live. So I'm 100% for freedom, and everybody who has not a freedom, I feel very sorry. I think we have to stay in our art, in our globus of art. I think this is the best way, the best protection against the mean things in our life.
Ez egy tökéletes zárszó lenne, de akkor még egyet hagytam a végére. Az otthon. Mit jelent, Friedrich, számodra az otthon? Mert itt az elmúlt fél óra alatt azt gondolom, hogy lehet otthon a művészet, lehet otthon egy múzeum, lehet otthon a cég, vagy a közös gondolkodás, de át is adom a szót, hogy neked az a szó, hogy otthon, ez mit jelent?
I have had several times in my life the question also where I would love to be. I would have loved to be. I could imagine myself to live also, for instance, in England, in France, in Italy, in maybe also in Hungary, or today also in the other free countries which we have around us. And Italy, I love also very much because I lived 7 years altogether in my life in Italy, maybe 5 years in France. So this gives me, of course, priorities. I love these cultures very, very much. So all France, Italy, and Austria, these are the strongest experiences in my life, to be home.
Köszönöm a beszélgetést, nagyon sok szép munkát kívánok még neked, Friedrich, és a csapatodnak, és mi pedig örömmel várjuk ezt a sok művészetet, amit majd hordhatunk. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.